Welcome to the Alaska Weather Show. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. And if you'd like additional weather information, you can go to weather.gov/Alaska, which places an emphasis on the state of Alaska. But if you just go to weather.gov, you'll get an entire map of the U.S., including Alaska, Hawaii, and its territories. And you can click on that and get weather, forecast, watch, warning, any type of information for all over the entire nation. So if you have any other things you wish to inquire about, if you have any questions or would like to share a photo or some interesting observation, you can reach me at peter.chan@noaa.gov. Well, in our headlines on this Wednesday afternoon, we're watching low pressure system and a couple of fronts that will impact the west and southwest coast and then push inland through the interior as we head through the day Thursday and Friday. That's going to bring another round of some rain. Fire danger overall statewide has greatly diminished. The fire season is winding down. That is good news, as we've had a rather wet and cooler period here after we get past the first few days of August. Another thing is we're finally going to start to see now enough darkness at night for the aurora to be visible again, as long as we can get the solar activity to get those curtains dancing. And certainly that is something to be watching for from this point outward as we head through the late summer and early fall. We'll begin to lose several minutes of daylight a day as we head through September, leading on up to the darkness of the winter solstice there in December. Another note for the extended forecast is looking like here the end of August is going to end up cooler and a bit wetter across the north, particularly as we get up through the North Slope and Arctic coast, but milder and relatively drier maybe there across southwest parts of the state, especially the Alaska Peninsula. So talk more about that coming up. But here's the fire weather index and significant fire potential. Today's fire weather index is about as low as you'll see when you see those darker blues. It's just not much of a factor. We still have a few fires out there. They're pretty small active fires, nothing major. And then the risk for significant fires to start is little or no risk here the rest of this week going into the weekend, and that's likely the case now. It takes some exceptional period of drier and warmer weather to get things to kind of resurrect the fire danger. Here on the satellite imagery, don't mind those rings. That's just an artifact of some of the satellite imagery, but we continue to see there is still moisture coming in off the North Pacific and lower Gulf into the far south end of the Panhandle around Haida and off to the north and west. The brighter clouds are pushing into west central areas of the state. Low pressure is just southwest of St. Lawrence Island in the vicinity of St. Matthew, and that low is going to track east-northeastward up into Norton Sound as we head through Thursday morning and afternoon, and that's going to spread those rains farther inland up, especially through the Yukon Valley. Otherwise, we still have some cloudiness and light precipitation occurring along the North Slope and Arctic coast. And there will be another area of low pressure approaching the eastern central Aleutians from the southwest, coming up through the North Pacific here as we get into later Friday. But in the meantime, there's that low located near St. Matthew, southwest of St. Lawrence Island, and the areas of mainly lighter rain and some fog will be along the southwest and west central coast, spreading inland as we go through the night. Low pressure still lingering along the northern Gulf Coast back toward Kodiak Island. Any showers that linger there along the coast and through parts of the Panhandle will tend to break up here overnight into the day on Thursday, becoming more scattered and even lighter. And in fact, by the time we get into Thursday and Friday, by Friday afternoon especially, southern parts of the Panhandle may actually see some peaks of sunshine with the warmest temperatures down around Ketchikan and Klawak. They could have some highs of 65 to an isolated 70-degree reading for the warmest temperatures in the state. But Thursday afternoon, low pressure will be located approaching into there in Norton Sound with a weakening occluded front moving inland. That's going to spread areas of rain and some rain showers into the interior. Mountainous areas will see snow showers or snow. And on Friday, look for that system to press further inland into the central and south central interiors, including the Alaska Range, where the higher elevations will see snow, lower elevations will still see areas of rain or rain showers. And then the next low pressure system will be coming up there just south of the central Aleutians in the northern Pacific. That'll be crossing the eastern Aleutians and up into the southeast corner there of the Bering up toward Bristol Bay as we head through later Friday. Low temperatures Thursday morning will generally be lower 50s, the southeast panhandle, upper 40s to near 50 there across south central areas. Warmest temperatures low mid 60s south of the Alaska range for Thursday afternoon. Could see a few lower mid 60s there in the southern part of the panhandle, and then Friday morning very similar lows again, lower 50s along the southeast panhandle, upper 40s to lower 50s down along the south central coast, and high temperatures will be cooler across south central areas on Friday afternoon with more cloud cover and some light precipitation south of the Alaska range, highs generally in the 50s. Could see, though, 65 to an isolated 70-degree reading in the southern panhandle. Thursday morning lows will generally be in the 30s along the Arctic coast, 40s elsewhere. And high temperatures Thursday afternoon will still be up around or a bit above 60 in the far east central areas along the Alcan, including Northway and Eagle. Otherwise, along the Arctic coast, northwest coast, highs generally in the 40s, and as I said, 50s elsewhere. Lows Friday morning, 30s along the Arctic coast, 40s back through the Seward Peninsula and up through the Yukon Valley. And with more extensive cloud cover and light precipitation, we'll see cooler readings generally confined to low and mid 50s throughout the Yukon Valley, 40s along the Arctic coast. Quick check of the southwest. Lows Thursday morning will be in the lower to mid 40s across the interior as rains spread northeastern into the interior, and lows generally upper 40s to near 50 across the tip of the Alaska Peninsula and Aleutian chain. Highs Thursday afternoon with the cloud cover and rain in the southwest interior, only lower 40s going up the Kuskokwim and Yukon rivers. And then down along the peninsula, highs could be upper 50s. And then for Friday morning, we're looking for lows generally again in the low mid 40s across much of the southwest, and upper 40s to near 50 degrees as you get down the length of the Alaska Peninsula, extending out into the Aleutians from King Salmon down toward Adak. And finally, high temperatures Friday afternoon should generally get back up only in the 50s, though. Lower mid 50s interior, maybe upper 50s along the Alaska Peninsula. The temperature outlook, 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, August 24th through the 28th to round out the month of August. We're looking for a possibility of below normal temperatures there in the northwest part of the state. And precipitation is expected to average a bit above normal, especially along and north of the Brooks Range, including the North Slope and Arctic coast, whereas the southwest may end up seeing less in the way of precipitation, meaning relatively drier than normal, especially the southwest interior, including the Alaska Peninsula. So it's looking like at least things will be drying a little bit in the south compared to the cooler and wetter pattern we've had here through mid-month.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
It's time now for your flying weather, and if you do have a flight planned for Thursday into Friday, much of the interior will see VFR conditions to start out Thursday morning, with IFR conditions lingering across portions of the Panhandle and through the inner waterways, North Gulf, and also along the far west coast, Nunavik Island on up towards St. Lawrence and back out over the Aleutians into the lower portion of the Bering Sea. Heading into Thursday afternoon, look for VFR conditions to hold across still much of the central and eastern parts of the state, with IFR out over the Gulf, little pockets in the southwest and west, and then again same areas back out through the Bering and the central western Aleutians. As we go into Friday morning, low pressure will have moved inland into the far west central interior with a frontal system that will be in the process of weakening. But with it, the moisture will be bumping up into the mountains, producing areas of IFR along especially the western arm of the Alaska Range, south slopes of the central Brooks Range, and they are just east of Norton Sound. Friday afternoon, look for more MVFR conditions to overspread central and eastern parts of the state as that moisture and precipitation spreads eastward during the day. Past conditions on Thursday, Anativik will be VFR, and that'll be the case also for Adigan Pass. And as we drop south into the west arm of the Alaska Range, Lake Clark and Merrill will also see VFR conditions. And as we round to the north, heading up through the Alaska Range, rainy Windy, as well as Isabel passes, we'll see VFR conditions. And farther east, Mentasta, look for VFR conditions on Thursday. A little further south and west, Tanita, we'll see MVFR conditions out over the east entrance with more in the way of VFR conditions out across the west entrance. And as we get further south toward Portage, look for VFR conditions in the morning becoming MVFR as the day unfolds. And finally, in the north panhandle, Chilkoot and White will start out with IFR conditions, improving to MVFR later in the morning and afternoon. Freezing levels are lowest in the far north along the Arctic slope and Arctic coast and north slope around 2,000 feet, coming up to 4,000 feet there around the Brooks Range, 6,000 feet just north of the Alaska Range, and then generally back up around and above 10 to 12,000 feet there in the Panhandle. And for Kodiak Island and the Alaska Peninsula, freezing levels are generally above 10,000 feet. And there will be a potential for icing. The greatest potential for some considerable moderate icing will be west central areas from Nunavik, St. Lawrence Island inland through Norton Sound into the west central interior as moisture associated with the low and frontal system works its way inland. That's where the deepest moisture will be, with the greatest icing potential between 10,000 feet and a flight level of 20,000 feet. Upper level jet stream winds are out of the west-southwest across much of the interior of the state in the order of 60 knots, though coming up near 80 knots along the southwest coast, and you'll see a 100-knot jet core cutting across the far eastern Aleutians into the southern half of the Alaska Peninsula into the lower Gulf. And as we come down to mid-levels at 9,000 feet, low-pressure circulation there just west of Norton Sound, with winds across much of the southwest part of the state at 9,000 feet, west-southwest around 45 knots, and coming down further to 3,000 feet, you'll see that low-pressure circulation between St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound, with winds southwest turning west-northwest in the counterclockwise circulation around it, upwards to 45 knots. Also 35 knots just there off of the Alaska Peninsula on the Bering side, and that will translate to some turbulence between the surface and 4,000 feet, centered on some moderate turbulence, especially centered on the lower Yukon Valley, as well as the Kuskokwim River Basin and the west side of the Alaska Range. And we expect that low pressure system to continue working its way inland, and the fronts associated with will tend to wash out and become more of a trough, but that moisture will spread farther inland as we head through the day Friday and into Saturday. And the next low pressure system will be tracking northeastward from out of the North Pacific across the eastern Aleutians and the tip of the Alaska Peninsula. That'll spread additional cloud cover, lower ceilings, and rain into southwest and south central parts of the state here over the weekend. So if you are heading out, again, check the latest conditions and forecast, and I wish you a safe flight.
Ahoy, Arctic Cadets, and welcome to the Okeanos Explorer. I'm Debbie, and I'm an ocean explorer. I work for NOAA, which stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Together with many other people, I work on this ship, and we explore the deep sea. How do we do that? Let's go find out.
Octonauts, let's do this. Yow!
The pressure in the ocean is so great humans can't go there, so we send a special robot. Arctic Cadets, meet Deep Discoverer, our special robot for ocean exploration. And this is Chris. He works with Deep Discoverer. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Debbie.
Can you tell us about what Deep Discoverer does?
Sure. So this is Deep Discover, and today we're going to take Deep Discover up to 4 miles down to the ocean floor so you can see what Deep Discoverer sees.
And how do we do that?
We do that by using these powerful cameras and powerful lights.
That's neat. And what is that?
And this is our manipulator arm, and we use this arm to take biological and geological samples that we store up front in these boxes, and so that we can bring them to the surface so scientists can analyze them.
Wow, isn't that cool, Octocadets? Wow! Now that we know more about the special robot that explores the seafloor, let's find out more about the ship. Octocadets, let's do this. Now let's find out what we do with D2's video. Come along. This is the control room. A lot of things about D2 happen in here. Behind me you see the pilots. They steer D2 on the seafloor. And over here we have scientists. Hi, Steve and Stacy.
Hi, this is Steve and I'm Stacy and we are marine biologists.
Can you tell us about the work you do here?
We actually look at the videos collected by the robots and we try to identify organisms along with other scientists on the shore.
What are you looking at right now?
We're actually looking at a sea star.
That's so awesome, thank you. Now let's look at how we make maps of the seafloor.
Excellent, Quasi. A good map helps you to get to places you've never been.
We also have a scientist on board who makes maps of the seafloor. Hi, Derek.
Hi, Debbie.
Can you tell us about your work?
Sure. My job on the ship is to make maps of the ocean floor. We do this by sending sound from the bottom of the ship. It echoes off the seafloor and comes back to the ship. And then from that, we can make maps like this. So this is what it would look like if you were able to drain the water out of the ocean and actually see what the landscape looked like down there. We use these maps to give the vehicles a place to dive, and they explore further, just like octonauts do.
Status report, Dashi.
We're right on course, Captain.
So earlier we learned that D2 picks things up from the seafloor with his manipulator arm. Let's find out what we do with those samples. This is the wet lab, and Megan spends a lot of time here. Megan, can you tell us about your work?
I am the sample data manager, so when the ROV comes up, we go out and we collect the samples from the ROV and we bring them in here. And we try to record as much information about them as possible, everything from the details about what they look like to the environment conditions where they were found. How cold was it, for example? Then we come in and we take imagery using this microscope, and we take pictures using this camera as well. And then after we get all the pictures taken and we're ready, we prepare them for shipping to other scientists and museums so more science can be done, such as this spot lobster, this cup coral as well.
And what is that?
This is a piece of coral, or several pieces of coral, that we think might actually be a new species. So we are going to send it out for a comparison to existing species to see if we discovered something new.
Wow, you have a really cool job.
Thank you.
Fascinating. I've read about this, but I've never actually seen it.
An important part of how we explore the ocean is keeping in touch with scientists and octocadets on shore. Let's go see how we do that. Rosemary, could you tell the octocadets a little about what that dish does?
Sure. My name is Lieutenant Rosemary Abbott. I'm the operations officer aboard the Okeanos Explorer, and that is our VSAT. It stands for Very Small Aperture Terminal, and inside that satellite dome is a very powerful dish antenna that allows us to communicate with shore and share video in real time. The technology is called telepresence.
Wow, that is so interesting. Thank you, Rosemary. Now I'm getting really hungry. Let's go to the kitchen and talk about food. This is the ship's kitchen, also known as the galley. And this is Michael. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Debbie.
Michael is the chief steward on this ship, and he keeps 49 people fed for 3 weeks at a time. Michael, how do you do that?
With a lot of care and with the help of 3 crew members. I have myself, the chief steward, a chief cook, and a second cook. And we just do it with a lot of love and care and make sure that everybody's happy and well fed. We use up to 150 dozen eggs per trip, up to 100 gallons of milk, a lot of veggies and fruits, a lot of snacks. Everybody's very pleased with what we usually put out. We also make sure that we do it in a loving way, in a sanitary way, in a safe way that keeps everybody from getting any tummy aches.
I'm about to enter the ship's bridge. It's like the Octopod's headquarters.
Octonauts to the HQ.
Ahoy, Captain.
Ahoy, Debbie.
Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Octocadets, meet Eric Johnson, the commander of the ship. Eric, can you tell us about what you do up here?
Absolutely. Hello, Octa Cadets. My name's Eric Johnson. I'm an O-Corps officer and I'm the captain of the Okeanos Explorer. Welcome to my office. This is where we drive the ship. This is where we control the operations. We run the propellers that are underneath us in the back to the wheel up here at the front, which is where we steer. It's a pretty cool job. It's very exciting and it's pretty beautiful around here as well.
So, Octocadets, now you know a little bit about the ship and how we explore the deep sea. I hope you enjoyed our time together. I'll see you next time.
Debbie, safety first.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Well, we'll start the marine weather segment with the sea ice edge. And one little interesting note, there has been some fingers of ice just offshore there of AKwx, probably brought in by some of the currents there. That's happened early in the week. And there's some pack ice there also off toward the east. Otherwise, the waters there of the Chukchi Sea are quite open, and there are some favorable areas of open ice there along the Arctic coast. We don't expect a whole lot of significant movement coming up, as winds will be fairly typical for coming up here when I show you the marine maps. But in the meantime, across the southeast, rain showers will be winding down, becoming more widely scattered and lighter here overnight into the day. On Thursday, inner waterways will see kind of a mix of winds out of the north, northwest there, Petersburg down to Ketchikan, 2-footers, but southeasterly upwards to 15 knots, Lynn Canal, and 3-foot waves. Otherwise, along the Gulf Coast, winds will be variable or northwesterly about 10 knots and waves 6-7 feet. On Friday, look for the inner waterways, northwest winds, Ketchikan, 15 knots, waves a few feet, and then southerly winds 10 to as high as 20 knots in Lynn Canal, and waves anywhere there from 2 to 3, maybe 4 feet. And along the Gulf Coast, west to northwest winds 15 to 20 knots, and waves generally 7 to near 8 feet. South central areas up along the northern and northwest coasts there of the Gulf is looking rather quiet, with variable winds around 10 knots, waves 4 to 5 feet off of the Kenai, only 2 feet in Prince William Sound. Could be a little bit of a bump in the winds there between Homer and Kenai from the south. Otherwise, waves should generally be a few feet, though they could be 5 to maybe as high as 7 or 8 feet there between Homer and the Kenai. On Friday, a little stronger winds aloft, coming in with a trough with that low pressure that's going to be entering Norton Sound on Thursday. That will eventually spread a little better winds there at the mouth of Cook Inlet, upwards to maybe 35-knot gales, and waves 8 to 13 feet there from Kodiak to the mouth of Cook Inlet. Elsewhere, southwesterly winds toward Anchorage and down through Prince William Sound, south of Cordova, north end of the Gulf, 25 knots, only 10 knots though in Prince William Sound, with waves a couple of feet there. For the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island, generally southwest to west winds 15 to 20 knots on the Pacific and Gulf side, waves 6 feet, and generally southwesterly to 25 knots, waves 4 to 5 feet on the Bering side. And for Friday, winds will be generally westerly around Kodiak Island up to 25 knots, waves 6-7 feet. But winds become a little more mixed as you get out along the Alaska Peninsula, southerly there on the Pacific side and easterly on the Bering side, 15 to 20 knots, waves running around 4 feet. On Thursday, the eastern Aleutians will generally have southwest winds at 15 to 20 knots, waves 4 or 5 feet. More variable on the North Pacific side. And then as we go into Friday, the low pressure system will be passing just south of the central Aleutians, south of Adak and Atka, and eventually tracking through the eastern Aleutians Friday night into early Saturday. The winds will pick up to 30 knots out of the east-southeast with waves 7 to 10 feet on the North Pacific side and 5 to 7 feet there on the Bering. And then across the west coast, strongest winds will be just south of the low pressure center track. As the low tracks in the Norton Sound, we'll see west-northwest winds 30 upwards to 35 knots just north of Nunavik Island, Meteorologist, on up toward Hooper Bay. There could be brief gales there, a period of maybe 12 hours, and then the winds will come down as they turn more westerly along the coast. Around 20 knots, though, still could hold up a bit there through Norton Sound with the favorable fetch coming into the Sound from west to east. Waves 6 to 9 feet, lesser though and more south-southeasterly as you get back towards St. Paul and St. George. And then finally, along the Arctic coast, winds will be westerly 15 to 20 knots, waves where there's open water 4 to 6 feet. A little more mixed winds through the lower Chukchi Sea and the Straits, 10 to as high as 20 knots, waves 2 to 4 feet. Strongest winds south of the Bering Strait there, just north of St. Lawrence, upwards to 30 knots from the northwest. And then on Friday, look for winds to be a little more variable, starting east Kaktovik, and as we head west, more south-southwest winds out toward Utqiagvik, and then down along the northwest coast, upwards to 25 knots and waves 6 feet, turning more northwesterly into Kotzebue Sound, and westerly there along the west side of the Seward Peninsula, upwards to 20 knots and 6-foot waves. Quick check of the weather map. There's that low moving south of St. Lawrence Island overnight, and they'll be moving into Norton Sound, being the main weather maker as we head through the day on Thursday. So thank you for watching the show, and I'll be back again on Thursday evening.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.